any of you struggling with any form of addiction right now?
Phone, like Instagram, TikTok. And I think that there's like a root cause of it,
Okay,
of the
interesting.
addiction, yeah.
Okay, before we go to the root cause, what is your addiction?
Oh, doom scrolling, for sure. That's the main one.
Lust.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So hi, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk a bit about addictions. I think it's an interesting topic, right? Because globally, addictions is affecting um, a lot of people, and addictions is really indiscriminatory. It affects regardless of how old you are, what gender, what life stage, what race. It doesn't matter. Addictions impact everybody. The top 5 addictions plaguing us nowadays is digital addiction. I'm guilty of that. The endless scrolling on TikTok, Instagram Reels, and stuff like that. Pornography and sexual addiction. Substance abuse, workaholism, and gambling.
I would define addiction as something that is basically an obsessive need or compulsive need for something that ends up destroying you or the people around you. Yeah. So the line is when you are lacking in something, you're not fulfilling a basic need in your life, or it is even destroying the relationships around the people of the people around you.
Okay.
I think that's the line.
Okay, so Pastor Andy, let me ask you this question. When we were trying to organize this and we spoke to many different pastors, right? Everyone is always so busy. What we find that all the pastors are consistently under pressure. They are expecting attention from the congregation and stuff like that. So, from a pastor's work perspective, is that considered as an addiction to your work?
Yeah, I think that we are called to a work. We are called to go all in, but yet we also need to look after ourselves,
Yeah.
having a sense of balance with family. So I'm someone who will make sure that I take my off days as much as I can. I rest. You called me during my holiday, right? Yes, which you didn't know. So no offense taken.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I told you and I messaged you. I said, can I get back to you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right?
But you still
in the end, in the evening, I still call you back. Yeah, never mind. Okay, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're
Just-
passionate about the work.
But I think there needs to be some guidelines and guardrails lah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bruce, Elijah, have you personally ever struggled with addiction before?
So to me, I think addiction is a very strong word. It's a very strong word. It comprises that it means that you cannot function without doing certain things. You cannot function normally. And if let's say a person was on drugs, I was addicted to drugs when in my younger years, and in order to be normal, to feel normal, I have to have that fix of drugs.
Okay.
Yeah. So that craving actually supersedes even food. I can forego the food. I cannot live without drugs, and that was that serious.
Right.
Yeah. And slowly, after a while, I feel that I'm aspiring down, because it's not cheap to get drugs.
How do you feed that habit? And how long does this habit last?
It started like I was curious because people around me was doing it and say, "Hey Bruce, come on, let's do it." And those days, I was into rock music, and I tried marijuana, and it wasn't that serious. Those days, in CMB don't really have the chemical to test your urine for the substance of consuming drugs.
Wow. Okay.
And so during the school days, it's like we are doing it. And it's so cool, right?
So your parents didn't, or did they try to put a stop to that habit?
They try to, parents those days, the only way I think that my parents know was the cane.
Right.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
It didn't work. your words. So the more they whack, the more rebellious I become.
Wow.
Yeah, I left home.
Mhm.
I did not come back. I stay out with friends.
Yeah.
I hang out late.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
Like I'm just curious to know what led you towards the realization that you need help, and how did that help come about, and yeah, how did it help you break out of this addiction?
Addiction is it's not like you can have let's say cure for it. There's no certain like do something and like people say, oh, you're addicted, maybe you're too free, get yourself occupied, do something, and it doesn't work that way, right? And some people say, oh, because you're sad, then maybe that's why you're depressed, you want to take some drugs. Actually, it's not. Addiction,
Yeah.
even if a person is happy, rich, poor, sad, the
Yep.
person will still want to have that fix of drugs. It's just like to them, it's like to me at that time was like everything black and white. The black and white TV, no color. So you want to add a little bit of color to spice it up, to make it feel better.
I think that there will come a time that you realize that are you in control of that, or is that in control of you? So-
It's too late by then, right? Because by the time
Yeah,
you
yeah,
realize it is in control of you, you've too far gone.
Or you could, I mean, sometimes the telltale signs lah.
So if we are talking about somebody who's again going from hobby to I'm curious, I'll try it out, I like it, I use it occasionally to I use it frequently to I cannot live without. Okay, along this spectrum. My point is that by the time you come to a I can't live without. So my question is, is it possible to arrest it at the earlier
At
stage?
the earlier stage.
Whose responsibility it is?
I think having an addiction, coming out of it, and knowing your own limits is very individual. It is not a set template for everybody. You have to maybe experience one addiction before knowing, oh, how are you like in an addiction? And then this is like before you cross that path. How are you like before an addiction, right before addiction? And then when you catch yourself at that point.
I feel that for a person to realize that the person is is addicted to certain stuff, first of all, there's a stage of denial, right? And still they'll deny. You say, no, it's once in a while, it doesn't harm me. I'm controlling it, I'm managing well. Until the person really realized that, it's taking a toll on that person,
So I think just to echo what Denise shared,
Yeah.
maybe perhaps sometimes we do need to reach that stage before we can understand what the triggers that can trigger another addiction. So for example, when I was younger, so I was addicted to smoking. Okay. And then after a while I realized that my friends pointed out to me that you're spending quite a bit of money on this. And I said, oh, then because of that, I don't have food to eat, things like that, for example. Then it was like, oh, no lah, it'll be fine lah, it'll be fine. I'm okay. 80 cents.
I can stop anytime.
I can stop anytime. No, it's social social, right? So then it came to a point that, actually there were times that I didn't have cash. I had to start borrowing.
Okay.
Then you borrow from a lot of people. Yeah, can lah, no problem. Yeah, but anyway, then there came a point where you realize that, shucks, actually, a lot of people tell me this already, and it's true that I do owe quite a lot of people some money.
Right.
So I need to find a way out. After that, right,
Yeah.
then I became a bit more aware of what drives me to do certain acts that may lead to an addiction. Like the trigger lah. Like, oh, I'm spending a bit more time on this now. Why am I spending more time on this compared to how I usually am?
Right.
Then I like KIV, keep in view like, oh, it's getting more. Okay, must cut down. Yeah. So I think that having the first addiction sort of gave me like a guide as to how do I respond when certain things take more time from me, number one. And number two, how does that affect the others around me?
Okay.
Yeah, because addictions are not just you. they affect the people around you as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's have an open question here, right? Any of you struggling with any form of addiction right now?
Phone, like Instagram, TikTok. And I think that there's like a root cause of it,
Okay,
of the
interesting.
addiction, yeah.
Okay, before we go to the root
Yeah,
cause,
yeah,
what is your addiction?
Oh, doom scrolling for sure. That's the main one.
Lust.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I experienced real, I mean, drug addiction, alcohol, cigarettes, sex, and gang. I was involved with gangs and all that.
Yeah.
And so that kind of lifestyle is like one package. You cannot have something without that thing. So that kind of lifestyle. So coming from that and to right now, I'm totally like sober and stop everything. So like social media, sometimes I do, but I don't stick on. So I don't consider it as a addiction itself.
Okay.
Food, sometimes I like to eat my nice food, but I control.
Yeah,
I
but
like to exercise, but I control.
I was going to go that. I know a lady who actually came and tell me, I think I'm addicted to going to the gym because I want to look good all the time. So would you, and she can't live without that literally every day, no matter how tired. Is that fitness or is that addiction? She goes to the gym.
I used to have that problem actually.
Really?
Like when I was in secondary school, I used to be very addicted to losing weight. And then exercise comes along with it. And food also, controlling my own food intake. And it became an obsession to the point where I couldn't even hear the voices around me telling me that it was a problem.
Sometimes these addictions are very subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like some people, they say they're addicted to coffee. They can't operate in the morning without coffee.
Okay, I have
They
that
need the
problem.
morning coffee, afternoon coffee, evening coffee.
Yes. So going back to this subtlety of, sometimes your addictions, you keep it secret, right?
Mm.
Because you're ashamed. For example,
Yeah.
you mentioned the word lust. If it's okay, could you just share with us a bit about this addiction that you are dealing with?
Well, it all started when I was really young. My parents were separated for a period of time. I'm the only child, so I had a lot of time in my hands back then. So I chanced upon when I was really young. I think I was primary 4.
Mm.
Yeah, primary 4 when I chanced upon some materials. And then it started from there lah. Yeah.
Right.
So it went on, it spiraled on all the way from experimental to it became a habit, it became an obsession, it became an addiction. There were times where okay, let me just try to dumbify it. I'll do things to myself. All right.
In terms of, okay, let's call a spade a spade.
Okay, I'll
Masturbation,
masturbate.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes up to 3 times a day because it's like without it, it's just burned into me already since young.
Right.
Right. So then it went on to a point. I have to qualify all this happened before I was a Christian, and then it went on to a point where I had relationships, and it went into those relationships. And then it came to a point when like what Bruce was sharing, you just try to deny, say that this is really nothing.
It's normal. Yeah, but when did it become a problem? If it's not a problem,
when did it become a problem?
when did you know it was a
It
problem?
wasn't. It was to me. I mean, I tell my friends, they all laugh at me, say, ha, like that.
Everybody's doing it, right?
Yeah, precisely. So you don't know, you don't think there is a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Until you come to a point where there's a black and white in another perspective. The word of God law says that this is not right. You should love the body or the temple of God, and you shouldn't do things that either obviously you start to realize that when you think of such thoughts, when you go to such sites, you are viewing the creation of God, the brother and sister, sorry, not brother, the sisters.
I mean, in today's time.
Yeah, the sisters as your sister.
Yeah.
They are all children of God,
Yeah,
and,
but
and
it's-
that's the kind of perspective, and then the kind of relationship that I'm in. Am I really in just for the emotion or the physical?
Okay.
That sort of things, and
Does it
and
matter whether you're in for the-
exploiting them for your own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, it was more of a physical need that you were
No
trying
lah,
to
it's a
fill?
bit mixed lah, but you know lah. Yeah. Sorry, you won't know. Sorry, I know. Yeah.
No, I think most of us do know. I mean, we had another session, and another pastor was sharing with us that before the age of 12, most kids in Singapore
Mm.
would already have been exposed
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
my
this
9-year-old is
material.
really exposed already.
Yeah. So I don't think it's something that we should deny, right?
Global average is 8 now.
8 years
8.
old.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it is 8. So yeah, so it's like going on. Yeah, I mean, just to add to Pastor, right? Like back then when I was also struggling with pornography,
Yeah.
it was the mere objectification of women and more of a narcissistic approach on men that got me to realize, how come I think this way suddenly? Which is basically
Mhm.
like women as objects in that sense, right? Like when you look at a woman and then you're like, you have all those thoughts that run in your mind. Where do they come from, right? It comes from the addiction. How come I cannot respect a woman as a woman with rights and a whole person just like me? So these addictions tend to wire your brain in a way that you are supposed to be like this. Sex ends when the guy ends. That's
Right.
it. And then you basically have no respect for the women lah. Yeah. But then then this whole thing about exploitation. So it's like I'm very big on pornography because like after God saved me from it, I did a lot of research and I was very like intrigued by this whole thing. And this whole idea of exploitation. I think that was a part that really affected me, that tons of women are doing these things without their consent, or they are forced to, they're coerced, things like that. Yeah, so anyway, coming back to this like these habits or these addictions can rewire our brains to look at people differently. Yeah, and I think that distorts how we see people, and that's why we need God to save us and cleanse us and things like that. Yeah, but that's just my personal experience.
Okay. Okay.
What if somebody says, "Oh, it's not an addiction"?
Well, I think like what Bruce said just now, right? Like it begins with denial. So of course you cannot assume that everybody who says it's not addiction means they're in denial lah. Maybe to some people it's really not an addiction. It could just be like, oh, just do it once in a while, things like that. But to me, I think the line is how you know when something's an addiction or not, right? Is when you just can't do without it. And it's the realization of that. Yeah,
So
which sometimes it's
how would you say it to somebody that you suspect or you believe strongly that this person has addiction? How would you
Oh.
tell that person?
I would say like, firstly it depends on what's the addiction.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Any
So
addiction.
if it's, let's say if it's pornography, let's say, then I would say, can you go on for a month without it? Right? Then if they can, then okay lah, it's not addiction. But even then, right, I would still say you need to really guard your thoughts lah. Because sometimes it may not be the act, but it may be the thoughts that stem, or the root cause lah. You don't know the root cause ma. This is just the what do you call it? The symptom of it, right? I think Bruce was talking about it just now, the symptom of it. But what is the root cause behind it is something that perhaps you can journey with to explore.
Okay, I think this great lead into this word, root cause, right? Words. So what are the typical root causes of any addiction?
What if the person deny, right? I mean, say, it's not an addiction. So addiction can have different degrees. Some people, they're addicted, they do it every day, but it's manageable to them. It don't display outwardly.
Okay.
In the secret, at their own time, so nobody knows, right? Until the person really feels that it is really getting in their life, really. It destroying their marriage or destroying their ability to function in the daily manner that is required at work or something, and that is where you can see it outwardly, as external friends or family members, we can see it. Yeah, some people are managing very well. You cannot even notice that the person has gotten this issue. Yeah. So the person itself got to be willing to be open to seek help. Addiction is actually what, as family, friends, and church members or colleagues, what we see is just the surface. It may be excessive drinking or loan shark, harassing home because of a loan, didn't service the loan, or maybe pornographic and a lot of sexual activities, prostitution and all that. And these are all the surface what we
Yeah.
see. Drug addiction as well, right? Heroin or ice or K-pot right now.
Mhm.
But the underlying issue, the root cause, is it may be something else. It's so complex, we don't know. And so I do counseling as well. And sometimes we try to find the root cause, try to find what happened. Is there something missing? Because of that, it may be hurt, it may be rejection, abandonment, a broken relationship, and the person is trying to cope.
Yeah.
And don't know how to cope. So addiction is something that is actually a coping mechanism.
Right.
And what we see, wow, you are doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. But actually, the root cause, there's something else so deep inside.
So, with your experience in counseling, right? What are the typical root causes that puts somebody into a position of being addicted to something else to fill that gap?
So I talk about myself, my case, right? So as I comes out from addiction, set free, and I reflect back, since I was a child, before even I go to kindergarten, my parents was working very hard, and I was actually living with my nanny, right? And so that separation, I only come back home on weekend only.
Mm.
And every weekend I want to go back home to my nanny, because I'm so attached. I was so attached to my parents. And I do not understand why, because my sisters are living with my parents and I'm away from them,
Mm.
So from that, I trace back to that during that age, I sense there's something that maybe I'm not too good or I'm not here, I don't know,
Mm.
and slowly there's this thing always inside me, and when I move back home, and so I feel that what drives me to addiction during my earlier years to my late 20s,
Mm.
right, it was acceptance, belonging,
Mm.
and I came to know a group of friends and they are so cool, right? And that times was my friend, but later on gang member. Brotherhood lah.
Mm.
Right?
好兄弟。
好兄弟 lah, right? So they say, wow, adults are like that one, they don't understand. Don't worry, my parents also like that. Then I got my result, He says, I got three red marks. He said, don't worry, Bruce, I got 4.
Mm.
Right? So I feel the acceptance. I feel the belonging of this brotherhood. They understand me. They don't judge me. They don't condemn me.
Yeah.
Mm.
And from young, already I have, this kind of thinking. Since I can't do well academically, I will do well in another way. And I was fascinated with the mafia movie, Hong Kong gangster movie, and I say I want to be like them. So slowly, that was actually the root cause, and because everybody was using it, and I use the drugs.
Yeah. Okay.
And I feel, I don't feel judged. Everybody is using it. Even though I know that I was heading to destruction, because many of my friends, they were sentenced to many years in prison. Some of them are in the gallows, they dead, hanged because of drugs. Some of them are overdose, sometimes jump down, they overdose of drugs and die. So up to a point that I feel that I cannot live on like that.
What was that moment of realization?
I was in and out of prison for many years.
Right.
I served around 13 years in the prison. So coming into prison is like, everybody know, oh, Bruce is back already, oh, Sam. And everything back to normal. The gang, the activities in the prison, those days was rampant. Was very strong gang culture. So every time you want to come out of it because of that, your face, you cannot let people down. People are watching you, this and that. So that kind of very strong hold of a dark culture until finally, you know, I say I cannot go on like that. I don't want to live my life like that. I was in my late 20s. Yeah.
So in these movies, right, especially the Hong Kong movies, you know, when you want to come out 退出江湖, that means
Who's
leave
that?
the gang.
Oh.
It's not as easy, right? There's a price to pay and there's a penalty to pay and all that.
Yes,
Is that
but
reality?
in the Singapore kind of scene context, it's not like the Hong Kong style. Yeah, because if the new ones wants to come out, yes. But for the old timer, we already done it, proven it. So we, of course, there are some negative comments inside when we say we want to follow Jesus, we want to give our life to Jesus. People will say this guy crazy already, cannot tahan, cannot take the sentence already. You know how long he will sustain when he go out, how long will he be sober, when will he be coming in again. So there will be negative comments, you know. Yeah, and so I face that because those days we try to put on a strong front and all that. But when I really gave my life to the Lord, it was in the prison. Right? It was not in a comfortable church aircon. It was seated on the floor. It was in a chapel, and I sense God is calling me. God is wanting me to come back to Him.
Wow.
There was an altar call.
This relationship with these gang members, was it kind of an addiction as well? You just needed to just get the acceptance.
Yes.
You know, so a lot of times people join groups because they are they're looking for the sense of belonging and acceptance, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, but different. I thought I wanted to hone in on the root issues. I think we need to really talk about this. For one, I believe those things is more than just mere curiosity, because I think upon reflecting,
Yep.
a lot of times I go to such actions because to numb a certain sense of pain, a sense of because of the separation of my parents. But eventually, by God's grace, they reconciled and both became Christians. But that's another story for another day. So during that period of time, and what happens to numbing the pain, it became something physical, right? It became something physical that there's dopamine, right? You know,
Yeah,
you do the thing, you get a high, you get whatever, all right?
So
Whether
I
is
get
it
back there
you get the
again.
sense,
Yeah.
and then it repeats itself, and then from something that's physiological, it becomes physical. It becomes a habit, right? That you can't seem to break out of. Yeah. So for me, over time, of course, the physiological part is that finding God, right? Can definitely, there's a sense of the acceptance. There's a sense of a realization that you don't need this to numb the pain or whatever, right? Yeah. But the physical part is the challenge, right? Because a lot of times you are in it on your own.
Yeah.
And something to me, there's a stigma, and especially so when you become a youth worker, you become a Christian, even more stigma, right? Nobody talks about this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So the physical part is the challenging one, right? And I think it's very important first to acknowledge that we need help. Very, very, very important. Yeah. And find help from community. So that's why I make it a point to straight away tell back then my wife, who was my girlfriend, I said, you got to be careful of me. Yeah. I went in
What a
straight.
great pickup line.
Obviously, it didn't start there like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I told her I guarantee we'll do something. Yeah. Okay, for sure. Yes. And then of course it went on to for my kids, when they reach a certain age, I share with them openly that dad still has this kind of struggle, but it's gone down a lot. Okay, thank God, really. Yeah, really, really a lot. But here and there, it still catches you.
Of course.
It still catches you. Yeah. And I tell my kids, I tell when they're of a certain age, I tell my wife, back then when she was my girlfriend, I already told her already. So that there's the sense whereby I know that when I need help, I can go back to them. I don't need to be afraid, right? The more the people know, and I tell you, it's very different when you share, the more you share, right, the more free you become, the more free you are, and I really thank God for the response, because the response is not one of condemnation. I think
Yeah.
that's very important. So I think as people who are going to help people, right?
Yeah.
We cannot go in and then just say, what is wrong, yes, but then we must not accepting of the behavior, but really accept that they are going through this journey. They want help, they need help, and they come to you. That means that there's the sense whereby they believe in you, and they really feel that you can be part of their journey.
Mm.
Can I just backtrack a bit? Because you mentioned freedom, right?
Yeah.
And I think the opposite of freedom, or rather before freedom, is a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you
Yeah,
manage that?
yeah,
that
great
guilt?
question.
I mean because I also struggled, right? So
Okay. That's where the devil wants you to be, right? In a sense of guilt and shame.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that that's what he wants to trap you in. And I realized that when the more you share openly, the more vulnerable you are able to be with people, you find a lot of support on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really a lot of support, and I feel that I look at this person, the person looks at me, and we kind of know that any point of time this person can talk to me about this same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever kind of because I'm like you, you're like me, lor. We are all the same, lor. Yeah, lor.
We are all struggling
we all
with-
need God, lah. We all need family and
Yeah.
friends. We all need support. Yeah.
Because I think the guilt can be very heavy,
Yeah.
and the guilt can also make you do other things also,
Yeah.
like more self-destructive behaviors even. So for me, I think I echo the same thing, which is to get another voice other than the voice that's inside your head that is telling you that you are nobody, you are a loser, you are an addict, you will never be free,
Mm.
you are just your monster,
You're
all
made
these
this way.
negative things are
Yeah.
it's like and then you have another voice, an alternate voice, right, that sort of corrects these things or tell you that actually that's not true. So the power of community is very important in managing guilt now.
Okay, is it realistic? Because I personally feel that people tend to judge more than they help, right? So how do you how can you be open enough to share this with somebody
Yeah.
without
can
losing
understand.
face,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
fearing for your reputation, if that's needed, or without a concern that it might impact your relationships or your status with this society? How do you deal with it?
So for me was okay, y'all know my father's a pastor lah, right? So as a pastor's kid growing up, somehow there's a lot of expectations on you. You're supposed to be like the model kid, right? So what happens when you struggle with certain things? What happens when, like in secondary school, when I was sharing, right? What happens when you struggle with certain addictions? So what happened was, to me, I was alone. I would never ever speak to any other youth in my church about this, or friends at that time. Even though they might be doing the same things, but I won't say, because what if I say, then they bao me to like their parents, and pastor's son can do this, why I cannot do? All up until there was this older brother of mine, like I think about 15 years older than me. But when he shared something about his life, which is basically his journey of finding his partner, and then certain things that he said, that I was like, this guy understands. He's not from my church, from another church, and not from my immediate circle. So that I thought, should I try? So I actually only let out this information to one person. And this older brother actually journeyed with me throughout. Yeah. And so it took a lot for me to open up to someone, because when you share, you cannot just share a little bit. You must share from the start. So he asked me a lot of questions like, actually, how did it start? Blah, 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 blah. What's the extent they have gone to? Okay, and then a lot of assurance like, hey, don't worry. There's always a way out, and we'll journey this together. So I think that there's a struggle for the addict to come out to share, because it involves a lot of trust. Yeah. So I think, firstly, as people who probably have overcome this addiction, to maybe share in a vulnerable way that, look, whatever you're going through is not new. This addiction is not new. Substance abuse is not new. Pornography is not new. Online shopping is not new. I'm just saying these addictions are not new. Yeah. So that helps in people to trust you, to open up. So I think it may not be the most idealistic, like, oh, just tell your whole youth group, guys, I'm struggling with this, but like that one or two people who you know can journey with you and who can understand. Yeah, to me that was my experience.
I guess for the helper itself, got to know what the helper is doing to help this person, right? And so for the person that is seeking help, the person also need to know. You don't just go around and share your issue, because some people may say, okay, ask the whole church to pray for you. And you
Yeah, WhatsApp
whole
groups.
church. So you got to be selective and also know that, this person can really help. And then when you approach that person, and the person that's helping got to also go down to the level of the person seeking help. Yeah. And addiction is like, you ask the person, oh, you stop this, but stop already, how to cope. You also need to teach the person how to cope.
You need to fill it with something else, right?
Yes,
Otherwise,
yes.
that void.
Yeah, correct. So sometimes it may work. You may want to fill up with certain thing, go for a certain activities, but the person may not feel that this is really a coping thing for the person. It may be something else.
Right.
So you got to explore together what works, not for the helper, but for the person that's seeking help, what works for them. Yeah.
I mean, I think people who have addictions need also to mentally prepare that, hey, okay, this is not going to be a 2 weeks, I do my reservist, I come out, right? It's going to be maybe years of struggling with this, right? I think what is the reality for those of us who have struggled and overcome addiction?
Who is responsible for this addiction? Who is responsible for getting rid of this addiction? Yes, there's community. Yes, there's, of course, praying and just seeking God and seeking God to fill that void, right? But at the same time, there's also willpower. It's a very personal journey that you have to take also. Yes, there's friends that can keep you accountable, but are you going to tell these friends when you fall into the sin again?
I think in the interest of time, Bruce, I really want to get back to you because you have experienced that the drug addiction. The last two questions I'd like to ask you, why did you realize this mistake in your 20s? And from there, can you share with us, I think it's good for everybody to know what it felt like getting 15 strokes of the rotan.
When I come to, actually I try to do it on my own strength to quit every time after 2 or 3 times when I was in and out. But I couldn't, because the craving, the need to have it supersede everything. And so I relapsed, I went back again and in and out again, until finally I come to a point that one of my friends, he came into the prison as a volunteer, as a prison volunteer. He was my old kaki, and he called me Bruce. I couldn't recognize him. He was like double his size already. Those days was really very scrawny. And I said, who are you? He said, my name is so-and-so. He said, now my life changed. I come to accept Jesus. I got 2 daughters. I'm serving the Lord.
Wow.
And that afternoon, that impression stuck to my mind. I said, this guy can change. What does that mean? Wow, I couldn't believe.
Right.
So after that, I still go to that chapel, because when you lock up in the cell, you go chapel, you got to see civilians and all that. And I want to know this God. And from then on, that year on, during the Christmas service, I remember the pastor was preaching about God's love. God love you, want you to come back, this and that. I was seated right behind, at the back, a lot of gang members. One part of me, the Holy Spirit, at that time, I don't know, something prompted in my heart that asked me to stand up and respond to the altar call.
Wow.
But one part of me said, cannot, you cannot lose face, no. You go up, people laugh at you, go back to the hall, general population. You got title one, no, cannot, your title cannot drop, no. So I was struggling there between that. So I stood up, I don't care. Every time I give in to, so I stood up, I responded, and they prayed for me. And then God just touched me. So the tears just flow and flow. I couldn't understand, because in my context those days, we shed blood, don't shed tears, especially in that kind of environment. And then I just tear, and no tissue. I use my t-shirt to wipe, And I just said a simple prayer. I said, God, I don't really know you, but I just give my life to you. I got nothing. I got no bank account, nothing, no education, just one life. I leave it to you. Right?
Wow.
And from that day onward, something filled inside me. God didn't remove the addiction. No. God gave me a purpose, a belonging. And later on, I discovered it was the love of God that just saturate me. The Bible says we remove the heart of stone and give me a heart of flesh. My heart was stone. We don't cry, this kind of thing. But that day, it was like complete. God transformed, gave me a heart transplant. And from that day onwards, I feel that, I want to give my life to serve God.
So for your case, in the negative influence part, you have a status, right? You have a status, but you chose to step out of that status that man has bestowed upon you, that you have to live up to the new status of, say that I don't care anymore. I want to relax. I want to rest in God. God's status for me is much more important, right, than any other human status that's bestowed upon me. I think similarly, if you look at the other way, not that one is negative and this is very positive. Pastors can also be very positive influence, right? Yeah. But I think to a certain level, I think one of the realization is that I am a child of God, right? That's my status. We are all children of God. So if I stand out here and you all choose to judge me, that's your pasa. That's your problem, right? Seriously. Yeah. But here I am. And just saying that, I'm more bothered about what God thinks about me rather than what man thinks about me. And in that process, all right, by sharing the vulnerabilities, by sharing the real life that I'm going through, all right, may it also bring hope, because at the end of the day, the hope comes from God, not from any status, not from any position.
What is the biblical structure of, dealing with these addictions?
I think the first thing is we need to acknowledge that there is an issue, there is an addiction.
Yep.
All right. Without the first step of acknowledging it, is you won't even have to start, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then the next is to break it up, break out of it with the power of God. All right, knowing that God's word has reminded us that there is power in His word. Okay, and it can be broken off, right? And then C will be to continuously count on God, continuously count upon Him. It's not a one-time thing, it's a journey. All right. D will be to develop their new habits. I think it's important to, after doing this, there needs to be new habits that replaces it. There needs to be new habits that draws us away from those things. Like, for example, avoid going to Geylang, avoid going to, I don't know where else you went. Yeah, there must be new habits, right? Yeah. A, B, C, D, E. Okay, next is embrace. You need to embrace hope, because there is hope. There's definitely hope, one. All right, yeah, the journey may be long, but there will always be a light at the end of the tunnel. And then finally, F will be family and friends. I really strongly believe this. Yeah, as much as there needs to be wisdom, all right, in sharing to who you want to share with, but I think that our family and our closest friends and our church friends needs to have that sense whereby we can trust each other, and we must trust each other, and we must help one another. I think that it needs to go down to that we are family. Yeah, at the end of the day. So A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah.
Can I just add something to that, Pastor? I think I know of certain people who have certain addictions, right? And I don't think that all addictions can be overcome with community, church community. I think certain addictions will require you to seek professional help.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, although community is a good start, seeking professional help is as good as finding out what is the root cause. Is it a lack of sense of belonging, a lack of parental supervision, a lack of what is that root cause? And then community comes to bolster that support. I just wanted to talk about the professional help, because sometimes I feel like we can be too dependent on community, and then we sort of like
neglect.
expect the community to check up on you, you know. But then, like what Denise said, it's your responsibility as well. If you feel that, oh, my addiction to whatever is a bit much, and after you acknowledge and you want to break out of it, and your community is, you don't expect that from your community, you know, that much, go and seek professional help.
Very
Yeah.
good point. Then add in a G lah. Go get help.
Get help.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, F, G then.
Okay, Kai.
Hey, honey and butter.
They haven't say cut.
No, that's okay.
Huh? Never mind.
Yeah.
Oh.
Honey and butter flavored lah.
Cut. Hey, cut this.
Oh, cut this.
That's what he meant.
Oh,
No. Actually, I meant that they haven't say cut. So we still carry on, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's okay.
okay.
Nine, God bless.
Thank
Can I
you.
put on my specs already?
Nine, God
Yeah, you
bless.
can.